Well, we're here with Film School Rejects and with Edward Norton, who's the star of Stone. Thank you so much for being with us.
Totally, yeah.
And is this the first time you've been to Fantastic Fest in any way? Or?
Yeah, didn't even know about this one until this year, but we had a great time at South by Southwest this year, and I dig Austin. It's a fun town, and I like the people. I like the way people interact with films here. It's fun.
Yeah,
I thought we could bring a even though it's a genre fest, I thought we could bring a serious film into it, and they were really excited about it. So.
Sure. Well, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of serious or more serious dramas that go on in the festival as well that kind of sneak their way in without, having robots beating up Japanese women or anything. But
yeah. There are none of those in Stone.
Absolutely not. Yeah. If you're looking for that selling point.
Yeah.
The marketing seems to really imply that there is, though. So.
Yeah.
But and you play a character that's been in prison for quite some time, for 8 years.
Yeah.
And he's seeking parole. I was hoping you might want to talk about the themes of isolation and whether that's necessary for the religious epiphany.
Well, that's a good question. I think what drew me into the film was that I felt like what John Curran was after was to ask a lot of these questions. Mm-hmm. It is about imprisonment, but then there's a character who's in prison, but De Niro's character and Francis Conroy's are sort of imprisoned in this very, very a marriage full of denial and alcoholism, and De Niro his character is suffering from a real crisis of faith as well. Mm-hmm. So you have different types of imprisonment and isolation. You're seeing a character who's isolated from society, but then you see a man and his wife who are isolated even though they're in the same house. And I think you see people who are going through the motions of kind of a good life but may be collapsing on the inside, and a guy who feels that his life is in a desperate state of needing to be liberated actually finds a kind of liberation in a place and in a way he wouldn't necessarily have thought he was going to. And I think that gets wrapped up in questions of what's authentic, because they are trying to manipulate for his freedom. And I think what I love about John Curran is that he's willing to let a lot of that hang. I think I'm not a big fan of movies that sort of go, this was the meaning, like
sure.
like absorb, like, and it feels imposed to me. And when I go to films like that, I always feel like, okay, thanks, I'm done. Like,
right.
I never have anything to chew on.
You've digested and you're going home. Yeah.
And I think when you look at films that kind of, I don't want to say scar in a bad way, but when films really actually make an impression on you, mm-hmm. when I look at like the way that a film like Fight Club like reverberates in people, or films I've loved, Do the Right Thing or something, I think a lot of them have that quality of leaving much unanswered and even a little bit unsettling, because that's what leaves you sitting around with your friends debating what transpired here,
Is it tough to live in that world, though? Like, is it tough to always be in, a state of unrest, so to speak, in your storytelling?
Yeah, but...
You long for conclusion at a certain point?
No, I like it sometimes. I mean, John and I talked about, and De Niro and I, we all talked about what we thought went on in the story, but it's kind of fun to then let other people come to their own conclusions.
You like being surprised by maybe other people in the way they see?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've already had some really interesting, we had some, a Christian radio, the Christian radio host whose voice is in the film.
Oh, right.
I was like, oh God, he's going to hate this movie. And he wrote us the most fantastic letter about all the things he interpreted in it about
Why did you think he was going to hate it?
I just worried that, I worried a little bit that he would look at it as a knock on Christianity, which I certainly didn't take it that way, but I thought maybe he would, and he didn't. He wrote us and said this is one of the best dissections of faith, and he was citing passages in the Bible that he thought it referred to, and I love it when people bring their own interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever their knowledge base is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That to me is not to be academic, but I think when anything creative is really functioning, people end up bringing a lot of their own stuff into it. That's the best way.
Absolutely. Well, we don't have much more time, but just as a last question, do you have a favorite Robert De Niro film, and what was it like working with a man who's ostensibly an icon of this world?
He's respected the way he is for a reason. He's a great he's a great technician and a great, very serious actor. I think he's like as good as he's been in a long time in this. It's not a rehash of things he's done in the past, and it's very complex. I think it's a beautiful performance. But you know, I mean, going back, there are the obvious ones.
You can say Taxi Driver if
Taxi
you want.
Driver
I mean,
and Raging Bull. Those are great films.
No
But
one's
actually,
gonna follow
if
you.
I had like a sleeper favorite, I think it would be The King of Comedy, because I think it's one of the most genius performances ever. Like,
and incredibly funny.
Yeah, it's so funny, but so like you just stop breathing at certain points because it's so uncomfortable.
You're not okay with it being
it's
funny.
So
yeah,
uncomfortable. It's like it's so good, so good.
Well, thank you so much. We do appreciate you taking the time out for it.
No, pleasure.